Yeah, I want to first and foremost appreciate you for the invite, which I know it was on short notice, and I'm here to announce the reorganization of our county assembly, our county executive, and also our chief officers. In accordance with Section 35 of the County Government Act, I am mandated to appoint county chief executive committee members and also the chief officers. This has been a very competitive process where we had a selection panel that was put in place after the advertisement was done in the month of September. It has been a very transparent process, and I also want to appreciate the County Public Service Board for doing a good job, where they gave us members of the chief executive, chief officers, who basically are people who are going to help us deliver on our mandate. And in making these appointments, of course, we have tried to comply with all the relevant legislations, and also making sure that we have the face of Kakamega and the face of Kenya. I want to start by unveiling my executive, and the first appointment that I'm making today is the County Chief Executive Committee member for Trade, Industrialization, and Tourism. I will be Honorable Ayub Sabula. Ayub Sabula is my current deputy and will also oversee the Department of Trade, Industrialization, and Tourism. The second appointment in the Department of Public Service and County Administration will be headed by Lawrence Angolo Omuhaka. Finance and Economic Planning, the CEC will be CPA Livingstone L. Imbai. Department of ICT, E-Government and Communication will be headed by Atamba Rachel Caro. Department of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives will be headed by Benjamin Andama. Department of Lands, Housing, Urban Areas, and Fiscal Planning will be headed by Penina Lungaso Mukavani. Department of Social Services, Sports, Youth, Gender and Culture will be headed by Moffat Mandela. Department of Health Services will be headed by Dr. Bernard Wesonga. Department of Education, Science and Technology will be headed by Godfrey Award. Department of Water, Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change will be headed by Dr. Mariam B. Barasa. Last, the Departments of Roads, Energy and Public Works will be headed by Architect Patrick Wesonga Kundu. I've also made the following appointments in the office of the Governor. The County Secretary and Head of Public Service will be Dr. Boniface Okoth. Deputy County Secretary, who is the Chief Officer in the Office of the Governor, will be Joshua Auta Kuteha. Chief Officer for Risk Management and Service Delivery will be Dr. Vitalis Were Masahwe. Chief Officer for Technical Services Units will be Joseph Maloba. Chief Officer Financial Management will be Adan Ahmed Mohamed. The Chief of Staff is Isaac Omungo. Chief Officer Trade, Enterprise Development, Weights and Measures is Shakir Dahan Adan. Chief Officer Industrialization and Tourism is Saxon Kweyu Osore. Chief Officer Public Service is Priska Otipa. Chief Officer County Administration is Doreen Amwoga. Chief Officer Finance is Dr. Jofita June Mwajuma. Chief Officer Economic Planning and Investments, David Msafiri Kulova. Chief Officer Budget and Ward Development Projects is Samson Otieno. Chief Officer Information, Communication and Technology is Fanuel Isayankwa Musasia. Chief Officer E-Government and Communication and ICT, of course, ICT I've already talked about. This is E-Government and Communication is Joseph Lutilo. Chief Officer Agriculture is Bill Graham Otieno Silingi. Chief Officer Livestock and Veterinary Services, Dr. George Barak Otieno. Chief Officer Fisheries Development, Mariam Nyongesa Were. Chief Officer Cooperatives Development, Emmanuel Jenga Kariuki. Chief Officer Land Administration, Survey and Housing, Stanley Maindi and Abua. Chief Officer Urban Areas and Physical Planning, Patrick Masaviro Butich. Chief Officer Social Services, Children Services, Gender and Culture, Vivian Ayuma Ashiach. Chief Officer Youth, Sports and Labor Services, Joseph Abucheri Ashindu. Chief Officer Medical Services, Dr. David Anekea Alila. Chief Officer Public Health, George Mukodo. Chief Officer Education, Science and Technology, Leah Hassandi Shisia. Chief Officer Water and Sanitation Services, Jessica Weku Wesonga. Chief Officer Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change, Justin Makari Mutobera. Chief Officer Roads and Energy, Philip Otenyo Makonjo. Chief Officer, Public Works, Pascal Khisa Were. I've also done appointments of various advisors, and the political advisor will be Josephat Mwasame Katiti. Gender and Women Advisor will be Christine Oside Kimungui. Economic Affairs Advisor, Desterio Okumu. Advisor Strategy and Governance, Alfred Saidi Kasavuli. And lastly, Youth Advisor, Emmanuel Museve Makoka. This is now the team that have given an opportunity to serve the county, and I know we are going to now transmit these names, especially for the county executive committee members and the chief officer for vetting, so that we can embark on delivering our mandates as soon as practicable. I want to appreciate all of you, at least for creating time so that you can come and receive this information. I know we've been having a lot of anxiety, and I thought it's important at least to exercise my constitutional mandates in appointing the officers that will be the key players in delivering my mandate. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate all the nominees that I've unveiled today, and after the vetting by the County Assembly, we are hoping that those officers will deliver on their mandates. Otherwise, I want to thank you very much, and I may want to invite a few questions. Asanteni sana. First and foremost, I just want to confirm that as a public officer, having worked for some strategic institutions, you are held accountable even after you have left the institution. The story about Lake Turkana winds has been blown out of proportion. And I just wanted to maybe take a few minutes so that I can enlighten the media. The issues which are being addressed, number one, is the source of the penalties for deemed generated energy. And one thing that we need to understand as media is what was the root cause of DG payments? What role did KETRACO play? Who are the key actors in the procurement of the Spanish contractor who was bankrupt? Those are the key questions. Who are the key players and the key actors in the power purchase agreement which was favoring the producer of the wind farm? Where I stand, and this is public knowledge, is that the power purchase agreement that was signed between Lake Turkana Winds and Kenya Power, that is now the root cause of the challenge that is being investigated. That power purchase agreement provided penalties for any delay on completing the transmission line. That's the first thing that you need to put in consideration. KETRACO was not a party to the power purchase agreement. Number two, the question that was being asked, did KETRACO procure the contractor who later became bankrupt? The answer is no. The contractor, who is Icelux, was actually procured by Lake Turkana Winds, who are the fellows that were interested in doing the wind plant and the transmission line. That was the way in 2009. When I joined KETRACO in 2010, I was the chief finance officer, and therefore I did sign the contract, and the contractor who was later bankrupt was Icelux, and that contract was not signed by myself. However, when I took over as the CEO, I was the one who was very instrumental in making sure that the project is completed on time, the transmission line. The reason why I'm saying that is because as a CEO, I had a responsibility of making sure that the Loyangalani-Suswa line is completed on time, and that is why I could not tolerate a contractor who is struggling to deliver the line. And therefore, on the advice of the Attorney General, in 2017, I actually terminated that contractor who is called Icelux and realized performance guarantees. It is my efforts that saved the country billions of shillings. That contractor was struggling for almost 2 years, doing only 55% of the work in 3 years. I brought in a new contractor through a tendering process who delivered the line in 7 months. That is the story which media is not highlighting. And because the perception here is a scandal, I want to confirm to the media today, there is no scandal in Ketraco. I didn't leave any scandal in Ketraco. What is being investigated is the root cause of the penalties for delayed implementation of a project, which was being paid by Kenya Power to Lake Turkana Winds. And Kenya Power was paying as a power purchase agreement that was signed by the two parties. I just thought it's important to highlight that because most of the people are worried. But I want to assure Kakamega people, your governor is safe, and I'm ready anytime to go and give more information. But the thing is, the root cause of the penalties was the power purchase agreement. And that is in the public domain, which nobody is interested to pursue. I thought it's important to clarify that. Thank you. Any other question? Stakeholders. And that is why, if you need any clarification in terms of project implementation and what you're doing as a county, I'll be very happy to have a conversation with you anytime. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki.